Pat with A&E, and today we're changing the motherboard or main control board in one of the filtration systems. It's the CD10AD. Okay, once you get the cover off, you've got 2 bolts on the top, 4 on the side. As you see in here, there's a lot of wiring. The biggest and main point of this is to make sure you know where everything goes. Because the board, if you can see down in there, those little screws that are right down in here, they're little pop-off screws. They don't actually screws. The board will actually just pop off of there, so you don't actually have to take the whole thing out because it's really tough to get out. Best thing to do, and what I've always done, is if you're not sure, write down a wiring diagram showing everything. Down here I've got the red and black wires showing what 2 wires come into the side, and each one of the control boards showing what the plugs are doing depending upon what your configurations are. You know, write them for what you know what they are coming off, so you know where they go back on. Otherwise, when you get back to it, you have a big mess of wiring and you're going, where do they all go? You don't want to get to that point. If you have another next to you, that's a different story, but if you're not and just doing one, make sure and write everything down. Once you get the motherboard out, you've got to individually take all 3 of these control boards, 1, 2, and 3, and you got to be very careful. The pins that go into the control board, the motherboard, if you take them out and turn them as you're trying to take each one of these control boards out, you can and will bust a pin that goes into the motherboard for continuity connections and proper working. If you do that, you basically lost a control board. They don't solder back on, and the board is pretty much worthless. So be very careful getting those in and out. They're very delicate on the pin end. Once you get that pop back in there, you're going to basically, after you take the motherboard off, you're going to take those 3 boards off, put them back in. The only really bolt or nut you're going to need to take off is right down there, and that is the ground control plug. You're going to need to get that off. Actually, if you wanted to, you don't even have to do that now that I'm looking at it. You can actually just unplug it from the board and use the old ground if you want to. So you really don't even have to do that. Once you get back in place, make sure it's secure, snug and fit. It's not going to flop around and fall off those pins. There's 5 pins, 2 at the top, 1 in the middle, and 2 down at the very end that the motherboard actually control and actually, hinge and hang on to. That's about the only trouble getting it out, is that one little portion right there, this little rubber stop. It'll stop the actual boards from moving. So what you're having trouble doing is, as it's putting pressure this way, it's actually kind of holding it in place, and you might have trouble getting those 2 pins in the back out. Try and maneuver it carefully. If you can't, feel free to take that nut off. That's what I ended up doing. I didn't want to damage anything. Once you get done with the boards putting back in and get the motherboard back in place, refer to your diagram, which I showed you a little bit before, which hopefully you've written until you get to the point where you know where everything goes precisely. And it's just a matter of plug and play at that point. You plug everything back in, make sure everything is secure and fit, and close the lid back up, and that's pretty much the end of that. If you have any questions, feel free to call me or anybody else, and be able to, at least this video should help you if you have any problems. Thank you very much.